Hey everybody, it's Party Elite with another episode of Total Breakdown. Today we've got a great battle between IruRobin and Return, though that's actually Turin, I've been told, showcasing IruRobin's Wood Elves against Turin's Greenskins. The Wood Elves are led by a Glade Lord atop a Forest Dragon with the Eye of Kronos, the Arrow of Kronos, Prey of Anathrema, and a Potion of Toughness. The Spellsinger of Life comes floating in with Earthblood. The War Dancers with Asrai Spear are the only melee infantry unit brought in, and they'll do well against most of what the Greenskins might bring. Meanwhile, we've got 5 units of Deepwood Scouts to make up a large range contingent that is fast and very efficient if well managed, and 4 units of Wild Riders and 1 unit of Wild Riders with shields will protect the ranged contingent from threats near and far. Skarsnik is in charge on the other side of the field with an all-goblin army. He's got Stand Your Ground, Wah, Spite at a Bad Moon, Trixie Traps, and Skarsnik's Prodder, while the Night Goblin Shaman comes in with Sneaky Stealin', Itchy Nuisance, Night Shroud, and Curse at a Bad Moon, and the 2 Goblin Big Bosses come in on Spiderback. 2 units of Goblins, 2 units of Night Goblins, 2 units of Nasty Skulkers, and 8 Peak Loonies bring plenty of shields, a decent amount of Vanguard deployment, and a significant amount of stalking to help keep them hidden from ranged fire. They're also all leveled up to counter low leadership and low stats overall. 2 units of Night Goblin Archers are a great pick, while Durusty Errors may have been a little wasteful with a regular Greenskin army, though they'll definitely help with the Goblin army. The Goblin Wolf Riders and Moon Howlers will look to shut down enemy range support, while the Forest Goblin Spider Riders and Death Creepers will probably look to get some kiting done, possibly slow down and shut down enemy range support, and scout alongside the Wolf Riders so that the Hammer of Gork and Doomdiver Catapults can fire away. Alright, as always, we're going to start with a conversation about deployment, and as you can see, the Wood Elves are starting off in the corner here, but they've got a pretty adventurous build, very fast-moving and ranged-heavy, while the Greenskins are taking a bit more of a conservative approach. So let's start with the Wood Elves. So, as we saw, very heavy on Deepwood Scouts. They're all up front here, able to get some range support in nice and early, push up aggressively, get some damage done from the get-go, and of course they are protected on all sides. We've got these Wild Riders deployed to the side over here, and these guys are able to push forward and screen anything that might be coming in this way. While on this side we have these 2 units of Wild Riders, and we also have the Glade Lord on top of the Forest Dragon, able to screen anything that comes in from this side. So keeping those Deepwood Scouts pretty well protected, while all the way back here we do have the Spellsinger of Life, sort of out of sight, out of mind of the enemy, with the War Dancers with Asrai Spear there to protect her if necessary, or there to push forward from the rear here and provide some assistance to these Deepwood Scouts. They're pretty fast, so they can close that gap pretty quickly and provide some support. Now, let's take a look at the Greenskins again. Overall, they're pretty conservative, as you can see, but they do have a little bit of Vanguard deployment. We've got the Moon Howlers up front here, as well as the Goblin Wolf Riders up front here. Again, I think trying to get some early vision, some early information in these dark spots of the battlefield, while we also have the Death Creepers and the Forest Goblin Spider Archers both up front here to get some early damage in if the Wood Elves are pushing forward this way, with a ranged contingent able to, drive them down as well. So a little bit of Vanguard deployment there, but the rest of the army is tucked away back here. And of course, it's a Goblin-only army, so it's not going to be the easiest to use. We've got the Night Goblins and the Goblins here alternating with the 8 Peak Loonies, rather, capping off the end over here. So alternating between poison and regular damage. Good call there, trying to get some of that poison support into the Goblin engagements. And again, these guys are all ranked up just so they can hold the line for a little bit longer. Right behind them, we have the Doomdiver Catapult and the Hammer of Gork, able to get shots off right from the get-go, of course, both of them. While right behind them, we do have the Night Goblin Archers on either end, and Durusty Errors in the center here. Again, that Armor Sundering is going to be very helpful, as well as some of that poison support, making sure that anything that's coming in is in reduced armor and has some reduced attributes that'll actually help these goblins out a fair bit. We also have, of course, these Nasty Skulkers back here, able to either push forward into these frontline engagements wherever necessary, or hold back enemy cavalry that's coming in from the rear. They do have their smoke bombs that'll slow them down and just help out with the engagement overall, while the 2 Goblin Big Bosses and Skarsnik are all the way back here as well. Skarsnik, again, anti-large. These Goblin Big Bosses can do well against enemy large units as well. They're not designated as anti-large, so they'll do well enough to protect any rear aggression. So let's kick it off, and right away we're going to see some action, obviously, because the Moon Howlers are right there, and they're able to spot those Deepwood Scouts right from the get-go, and the Deepwood Scouts are able to get some shots off right away into the Death Creepers here. You'll see the Wild Riders as well being pushed in to intercept these Moon Howlers, so very quick reaction time there. Right away you can see these Moon Howlers pushing in, trying to get some damage done to these Deepwood Scouts, and these guys already engaged while these Wild Riders arrive just moments later. Basically a rear charge there, or a flanking charge there, trying to get some damage into these Moon Howlers. So great work there, responding to make sure that those guys get shut down right away. And you'll see the Deepwood Scouts pulled back immediately after that engagement does begin, and the Moonhowler's doing a lot of work. They're just pushing through the line, getting a little bit of damage here, a little bit of damage there, and also trying to pull away from those Wild Riders, but of course the Glade Lord also dives down to shut these guys down right away. Good thinking there, but almost immediately these guys are shattered, as you can see. But despite being shattered, what they are doing is they're giving some vision to the Hammer of Gork and the Doomdiver Catapult, so those guys can actually see the Deepwood Scouts here, and you can see they're getting some shots off, they're getting some nice damage in early on, so great call. They're having the Moonhowlers there not just to do that early aggressive move there, but also get some vision and get some damage in nice and early. And you can see these two Wild Riders here, while this one was sort of blocking off those Moonhowlers and scaring them away, these two Wild Riders are getting a lot more aggressive, pushing forward to get a flanking maneuver of their own done, while these Goblin Wolf Riders are pushing off the hill there, coming in from this side, still unaware of these two units of Wild Riders, while the Glade Lord there gets a little adventurous, eats some damage from that range support, and is just forced to pull back. A little bit of poison there causing some hurt, but you'll see these Wild Riders able to come around, while up front here, these Goblin Wolf Riders, as they're sort of closing the gap and trying to get into these Deepwood Scouts, these Wild Riders are responding. They're saying, not today. They're going to intercept these Goblin Wolf Riders, and it's not going to be a problem at all. Obviously, they're going to shut that gap down very quickly, so you'll see these Goblin Wolf Riders actually see that aggression coming in, and then they turn around. Great work there, while over here, these Wild Riders are pushing forward as well, trying to get into the Hammer of Gork and the Doomdiver Catapult, but of course, these Goblin Big Bosses now turning around to respond. We also have the Death Creepers and the Forest Goblin Spider Riders back there to try and slow these guys down and reduce their attributes with some of that poison support, so just pulling back to try and protect the catapults back there. Meanwhile, you'll see these Wild Riders again veering away a little bit, while the Deepwood Scouts getting some shots into the Night Goblins here, the 8-peak Loonies rather, and causing a little bit of damage. They do have silver shields though, so they're relatively safe from that damage, while the Wild Riders here dive into these Goblins to get some hurt in, and these Wild Riders as well pushing forward and then pulling back, not needing to engage, don't want to get shut down, while the Wild Riders back here shutting the Hammer of Gork down right away. Even though they're hit by Smoke Bomb to reduce their speed and charge speed, they're able to cut right through the Goblin Big Bosses and shut down the Doomdiver Catapult and the Hammer of Gork, immediately shattering those guys. They're not going to get any damage in anymore. Great work there, wonderful flanking maneuver. I love seeing that kind of movement. Meanwhile, these Goblin Wolf Riders trying to stay safe, while the Deepwood Scouts get a wonderful volley into the into the nasty Skulkers here, who are a little too adventurous. They don't have shields, and you can see as that volley comes through, does a tremendous amount of damage. These guys are thrown around by the force of those arrows as they come flying in, and you'll see the nasty Skulkers are actually dropped down to less than half of their health, I believe. Their morale is dropping immediately as well, immediately made to waver, and you'll see they begin to rout almost instantaneously. There you have it, they're routing. Meanwhile, back here, these Wild Riders pulling away into some safety after having done their job. Great work there, making sure that range support has been shut down, the artillery support rather has been shut down. Meanwhile, over here, these Wild Riders chasing the Goblin Wolf Riders out, shutting down that cavalry support, and up front here as well, you'll see these Night Goblins getting hit by a lot of arrows there. The Deepwood Scouts getting a decent amount of morale damage, and of course the shields are protecting them. But as these Night Goblins are pushing off to the side here, they are presenting their sides to most of the range contingent, so their shields are going to be useless if the Deepwood Scouts get some more shots in, but instead they do opt to fire into the archers over here. The Night Goblin archers taking a lot of damage, about dropped to half health again, and their morale dropped immediately as well with that one volley, so great use of that massive range support here, while the Wild Riders now shutting down that melee aggression as well, tossing these guys back, throwing those Goblins and Night Goblins back, while these Wild Riders coming from the side alongside the Glade Lord, just shutting all that down. These nasty Skulkers as well, eating a lot of damage from range fire coming in from these Deepwood Scouts, willing to rout once more. They're wavering right now, but very close to routing, while these Wild Riders as well pulling back into some safety and now able to push forward once more, as again the Greenskin attention is to this frontline situation over here. Meanwhile, all the way back here, the Spellslinger is pushing forward, needs to be a little bit closer to get some casts off, so pushing forward ever so slightly, while the Deepwood Scouts, you can see, continue to open shots off and get a decent amount of work done. That volley is going to do a lot of work against these nasty Skulkers, basically taking care of them once and for all, while these Goblins and these the 8-peak Loonies rather pushing down here, trying to shut these guys down as well. And you'll see at the back here again, the War Dancers with the Ash Rise Spear maybe staying back for a little bit too long. They could have been pushed forward to provide some support, but it's okay because these Wild Riders are up front here and they are able to come in again, disengaging as they make these guys rout, disengaging for a while, willing to push in again. As you can see, these Wild Riders here trying to shut that gap down ASAP, tossing some of these Night Goblins aside, but the main target here are these Goblins over here as they close the gap to these Deepwood Scouts, but they come right in, toss these guys aside, not an issue whatsoever, stopping them in their tracks, even stopping these the 8-peak Loonies rather, while at the back here as well we have these Wild Riders coming in from both sides, coming in with a pincer maneuver here, trying to shut down that range support, shut down the Death Creepers, the Forest Goblin Spider Archers, as well as the Night Goblin Archers over here as well. Meanwhile, the Deepwood Scouts continue to open shots off, get them into these Night Goblins as they run away. These Wild Riders as well diving in, trying to shut these guys down once and for all, while in the center here you'll see we have Wah, we have Trixie Traps, and Spider the Bad Moon going on, just trying to protect these guys from those charges, but unfortunately they come in and they come in hard. The Wild Riders are in a bit of a precarious situation. They are surrounded, so They will start to take some decent melee damage. You can see technically they are losing their melee, but they are taking care of the Rusty Heirs and the Night Goblin Archers very quickly. The Wild Riders back here as well, very quickly taken care of between the Nasty Skulkers and the Death Creepers in melee. Not an ideal situation, you'd think, but they were already hurt, these Wild Riders, so they are made to fall back and rout, actually. The Glade Lord as well, popping the Potion of Toughness, getting into some safety, while these Wild Riders now diving into this unit of Night Goblins just to try and cause some hurt. Well, over here you'll see we have the Curse of the Bad Moon going down. Not a spell we see very often, this Vortex spell, but doing a decent amount of damage, all things considered, and forcing these archers to actually scurry about, not able to get some shots off, but in response we do have Earthblood going down, just to make sure that these guys stay alive and stay willing to fight. Meanwhile, we do have the Night Goblin Archers opening some shots off into these Wild Riders, trying to get some damage done, while Earthblood is helping them out as well, but we've got these Wild Riders coming in alongside the Glade Lord as well to try and shut that nonsense down right away. So you'll see these charges coming from the side. Skarsnik's not going to do much, even though he's anti-large, he's not going to be able to do much. He does pop Stand Your Ground just to try and keep these guys there and fighting, but it's not going to be enough. And meanwhile, this Vortex spell, as you can see, just pushing off to the side. They're not doing a lot, while a lot of arrows go in to try and hit that one lone unit of Night Goblins, that one lone Night Goblin, rather. Back here, meanwhile, these Wild Riders still chasing away some of these units, these Nasty Skulkers being completely shut down, and just cleanup crew right now. These guys are doing some work, getting these guys to shatter and rout, while these Night Goblin Archers and their Rusty Heirs as well now being chased down by the Wild Riders and the Glade Lord, just to make sure they don't stick around and cause a lot of damage, whether it's to, health or morale, of course. Meanwhile, over here, we do have, I think it was Itchy Nuisance going down, but these Wild Riders are able to just tuck away, not really causing any damage there, not any cause for concern, while these Goblin Big Bosses now pushing down to try and shut down the Wild Riders, get some damage in there, and get these guys to fall apart. Greenskins still sticking around, still trying to fight and survive, but unfortunately they're just too disparate, they're too broken apart. The Wild Riders have full command of the battlefield, they're able to do whatever they want, wherever they want, while the Deepwood Scouts, again, able to provide that range support wherever necessary. And you can see they're just kind of relaxing for a little while, picking a target, Goblin Big Boss it is, and doing a tremendous amount of damage. They're dropping it to about half morale, half health, making sure it's taken care of. And the Goblin Big Boss, meanwhile, just standing there kind of, again, as I like to say, looking pretty, eating a lot of arrows as he's doing so, as he's kind of modeling there. Could have been used to shut these guys down, make sure they're not getting any shots off, but at this point, I think the Greenskins are relatively aware of their situation. They don't really stand a chance. The Deepwood Scouts still have a lot of ammo left, all things considered. The Glade Lord having a great time in there, beating on this Goblin Big Boss, causing some damage to Skarsnik as well, despite activating, Wah to try and get a decent amount of damage back in response as well. But with Earthblood in there as well, the Wood Elves are going to be just fine. As you can see, the Goblin Big Boss terrified finally. Skarsnik as well, very low on morale, shaken right now, very easy to take care of at this moment. And with that happening, again, just clean up at this stage, and a very nice, close victory for the Wood Elves. Now, the Greenskins put up a great fight. Considering they were an all-goblin army, they did very well to survive as long as they did, though unfortunately, they didn't quite kill enough. Clever Vanguard deployment gave the Greenskins early knowledge, but the scouting units were very quickly shut down with some great reaction time, and they were run off the field right from the get-go. So the Wood Elves got a wonderful flanking maneuver in right at the start that more or less shut down the artillery support that would have otherwise taken care of Wood Elf range support. That early tactical play by the Wood Elves was the first domino that sent the rest toppling, as the Greenskins had no safe quarter and had to scurry back and forth to keep alive. As always, make sure you subscribe to this channel for more Total War content and keep sending in those battle replays. I do think it's one of the best ways to learn, and seeing such amazing plays from the community is always a good time. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the battlefield.